A bedrock in the Van Buren community, the King Opera House has over 100 years of great stories that provide its town with a history of memories.
My name is Bill Ratcliffe. I am the manager of the King Opera House and director of operations for Arts on Main in Van Buren. The King Opera House was originally built, or the original building was constructed in 1891 as a commercial property, and it housed a lot of different businesses. It had a pool hall, a saloon, dry cleaners, and even upstairs the local newspaper, the Van Buren Press. In 1901, after returning from a trip back east, Colonel Henry P. King purchased the property and decided to bring the arts to Van Buren, and purchased it and converted it in the back of their building into an opera house. The front of the building stayed for a number of years commercial property, smaller businesses. But they did their first performance in October, I believe it was October 18th of 1901, and it was a production of the opera Faust. And the Opera House operated for many years with traveling shows, traveling acting troupes, vaudeville shows, all kinds of traveling shows that came through. Around 1914, there was a fire in a dry cleaning business that shut the theater down for a while. It was repaired. It was not totally destroyed, but it caused quite a bit of damage. The damage was repaired, but the era of the traveling shows and vaudeville had passed. So in the early 1920s, it was converted into a movie theater. It became, after a while, the Bob Burns Theater. Bob Burns was a local celebrity, kind of the hometown boy done good in Hollywood. He was a radio and later movie personality. He was a comedian. But Bob Burns is really known as Bob Bazooka Burns. And just a quick story to tell you about that. He invented an instrument, kind of like a trombone, but it was basically two pieces of pipe with a whiskey funnel on the end, and he would play it. He always said it sounded like an injured moose. But during World War II, when the Army invented their shoulder-mounted anti-tank weapon, and they had, a big acronym for it, and they thought, that's a little unwieldy. And someone said, that looks exactly like that thing that Bob Burns plays. And so they said, that's it, we're calling it the bazooka. And that's where it came from. So we have Bob Bazooka Burns. The Opera House stayed a movie theater until the early 1970s. The building was deteriorating. Malco Theaters had it at that point, and they decided to close it, and they closed it down, not wanting to spend money to repair and keep up the building. Shortly after that, the city picked it up, and then the city, along with a lot of local civic groups, went together to reimagine the building, bring it back to its former glory as the Opera House, and that's what you see today. Well, of course we have our ghost story about our ghost, the young actor who was killed by a local doctor. There have been several movies that have been filmed here in the Opera House. We had one about the Opera House called Step Into the King Opera House. We had another one titled, The Riot Act. And there have been a lot of other films that featured parts of the Opera House. Sometimes, we'd have movie companies come in. I know there was one called Frank and Jesse that came in and they filled the street with dirt, and they shot a couple scenes where they came running into the Opera House. But so we've been in Hollywood quite a bit. In the month of December, we have a very full calendar, a lot of events. We start off the first week of December with a production by the Arts on Main's Big Little Theater, Children's Theater, which will be Annie Kids, and that happens the first weekend in December. The following week, we'll have the Community School of the Arts production of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And then the next week, on the 15th, we have the CMT Male Vocalist of the Year coming to do a concert. That's Blaine Howard. You can get tickets, link on our website, kingoperahouse.com. And then on the 20th, we have a big surprise for everyone. We have nationally known comedian William Lee Martin coming in, and he is bringing his entire show. Go to kingoperahouse.com, all one word. You can go to our coming events page and you'll see everything that's listed. And keep watching that because we'll be announcing our 2023 season in a few days.